Hello, everybody. This is Professor Bennett Tchaikovsky. I've got a question today from one of my subscribers about sitting for the CPA exam. Do I need to take the CPA exam physically in California and then internships for the 1 year experience? So coming over here, my disclaimer and copyright notice, the information, opinions in this presentation are those of myself only and not my employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College in the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2024 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. So let's take a look at this question. So there's one of my subscribers is doing an internship at an accounting firm, and when you're going through and doing an internship, basically at an accounting firm, will that time that you're going through and going through and doing that work, basically, I'm will that time count? And the answer is absolutely yes. However, I would caution you is that, for example, I did my internship at Coopers and Lybrand, which is now PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now you know how old I am. I went through and I did my internship at Coopers. And when I did my internship, that time absolutely counts towards licensure. But I do want to caution you on something, which is basically that when it comes to if you are looking to go through and if you want to be able to sign off on attest engagements, right? So say if you want to be able to sign off on an audit report, that's going to take well over a year, just because it's going to be hard to get all these hours in within that period of time. Again, this is what I've heard from most accounting firms. However, for your general experience, will the time that you work at any accounting firm, will that time count? And the answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, if the accounting firm basically refuses to sign off on the work experience, or if a person knowingly impedes someone from becoming a CPA, they can get in big trouble by the enforcement division. Most firms will go through and sign off on it. So will those internships count? The answer is absolutely yes, right? The key is that you have to have been actively supervised by a CPA that was actively licensed at the time you were going through and getting the experience. Now, do I need to take the exam in California? The answer to that is no. You can take it in any one of the 50 states. However, you're going to have to take the exam at an approved prometric testing center, or whatever the testing center that they tell you is. You have to go through and basically take the exam at a prometric testing center. So that's something to just kind of remember, is that, okay, if I do take the CPA exam, it's going to have to be at a prometric testing center or whatever but you do not have to take, if you're becoming a California CPA, you do not need to take the exam in California. They don't care, because the exam is the same in the United States. There's no special exam in California. Now, if you were taking the California bar exam, I think you would get a different response. So when can I sit for the CPA exam? And let's go through and just kind of take a look at this over here. So let's go to California Board of Accountancy. And we're going to go over here to the California Board of Accountancy. Old man Bennett here with the glasses. Always fun. Part of the fun of getting older. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we're an applicant. I am an exam candidate. And early entry. Okay. You may be eligible to sit for the uniform CPA exam if you are currently enrolled in a college or university and are within 180 days of completing all examination educational requirements. Educational requirements include the conferral of a bachelor's degree and 24 semester units of accounting and business related subjects. One of the things you have to understand is, like, with regards to the 150, California does not care when you go to California, right? Or when you're going to become a licensed CPA in California, when you apply to sit for the exam, the first thing they're going to go through and do is they're going to say, okay, will you have your bachelor's degree within 180 days? And you have 20, and by that time, will you have 24 accounting and will you have 24 business? If you do, you can sit for the CPA exam. Now, I would warn you, if you sit and you don't get your bachelor's degree within that 180, I would panic, just like what happened to me. I think I have a separate video on that, but you want to make sure you're basically on this. And if we go through and look at this, to apply for early admission, CPA exam application, you're going to have to send your transcripts electronically to the CPA. Got to pay the fee, which I think is $100. Evidence of all finished coursework towards completing the educational requirements. That's really going to be a part of the CPA exam. And certificate enrollment form. What's this? Let's see. Check this out. I qualify. Okay. Within 180 days. Okay. My signature. I'm currently here. I'm going to get a BA. My expected date, right? It's going to be 150. And then which classes am I currently enrolled in? Signature of dean or registrar. Okay. Pretty name or title. So there you go. So someone's going to have to go through. And I think if they see it on the transcript, I don't know if that's enough, but you've got to go through and do this form. Applications for early entry will be approved in instances where documentation is provided that supports the applicant meets the eligibility within 180 days. Within 240 days of application submission, candidates must send official transcripts to the CBA showing all education requirements have been met. So obviously you can go through and when you do this, make sure you're going back and sending them your final transcripts. So if you are, so you're going to create an application and fee, create a client account under the education information, select option C, create and print and sign your remittance form. Submit the fee, right? Make sure you're sending this like some kind of like priority mail or registered mail. Submit the exam application and payment with your remittance form. Provide the educational documents subscribed below to the CBA. Okay, certificate of enrollment form as evidence provided. Okay. Okay, what to do within 240. So I'm going to leave this link and I'm going to put this link below. So hopefully that's going to go through and answer your questions on this. And that's really what I would go through and make sure you're going through and doing. And by the way, just one other thing is that when it comes to the general experience, if an employer is refusing to sign off on your experience, they should not be doing that. And if they are, you can send me an email here and I can share with you some language to share with them, but you really shouldn't have to do that. They should be going through and signing it. I made a video on this recently. So there you go. And anyways, hopefully that you found this video helpful. If you need help with your mapping or you have any other kind of questions, if you want to send me an email to ibc30tocpa@gmail.com, I will do my very best to go through and attempt to answer your questions. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.